some people had to see like me getting lugged out with handcuffs. That was my first and only time getting thrown in the backseat of a cop car. Why does my life suck? My girlfriend left me. My girlfriend was out with another guy. Growing up in like an Asian family, I had like a really strict father. I created like my own little gang, and then I started hanging out with gangsters in high school. My experience at this mental asylum, it felt like 3 years. At the end of it all, like I didn't even get into a good university because my grades were that bad. Oh, well, you don't understand because you're a really alpha dude and masculine guy. Oh, I very much well understand. So I got expelled in high school. And being in like an Asian family, I faced so much disgrace, so much humiliation, and even going to like a high school filled with a bunch of Asians that had like really good grades. It was a really good high school, one of the top ranking high schools in California. Being expelled in this really astute high school with like a bunch of smart Asian dudes, smart Asian girls, and it was really only like the non-Asians that were getting suspended and expelled. I felt a lot of shame. And this is going to be like a sensitive, super sensitive topic that I'm ever going to be sharing on this podcast. But I want to give my hats off to Dark Knight 526 for being like a really big supporter and giving this idea for me to share, because I always just kind of gloss over it, whatever it is, graze over, I don't know, right? I always just kind of gloss over it and just kind of like briefly mention how I got expelled, but I never dedicated a full episode to talking about how I got expelled and the disgrace that I felt and all of the like feelings that I felt from it, you know, and then the takeaway. It's probably the biggest important thing that I'm going to be talking about is the takeaway, but let me first talk about the story, like what happened. Growing up in like an Asian family, right? I had like a really strict father. And I'm sure like every Asian guy or Asian girl, maybe, like could understand like growing up with like a Asian dad and like the dad's going to be hard on the Asian son. So, I also had like two older brothers, and my middle brother, he studies really hard. My oldest brother, he was kind of like naturally smart. And then it came down to me. I was like just dumb, you know? But like I kind of didn't discover my talents until like much later in like college. And then not to like boast or anything, but like I would say, and even like my whole family says like I'm the smartest one out of all of us now, right? But like growing up, I always thought I was like really dumb because like my grades were crap. I even got like a D in third grade. So I'm just hoping that this video could relate to other people out there who are like Asian, are going to like a really good school, or even like if you're not going to like a good school, right? Maybe you could relate to it as an Asian male, or just like not even as an Asian male, but like any males right out there, or even girls that got expelled or suspended. But first, I'm gonna introduce myself. My name's Panda Ang from the Controvert podcast. Welcome back. And today we're gonna be talking about how I got expelled, just like I mentioned earlier, right? So enough dilly-dallying. Let's talk about it. So yeah, so I had a lot of I wouldn't say like a rough upbringing, but man, it's far from rough. I can't even say it's rough. Okay. Like I grew up in like a pretty good family. It was just that I had a really strict father, and I don't want to discredit my dad, because I always tell my dad, even up to this day, I tell him like, you know what, like I'm actually thankful that you're hard on us growing up, because like now he's really chill. So no disrespect, no hate, no spitefulness to my dad. I also don't want anyone to like blame my dad either. Not because like, you know, I want to save face for my parents, but I genuinely believe that his teachings honed me into becoming more tough as a man. And I think that's very important, because there's even talks about this where if you have a stronger upbringing as a man, then you actually grow up to become a stronger male figure, and you have more confidence to do things. So I'm very thankful for that, right? But going back to what happened, so because of my, what do you call it? Rough? Not rough, right? Tough childhood, okay? I guess I kind of felt the need to want to look for satisfaction elsewhere and kind of expel my anger from like the household. I don't want to put all of the burden on my dad, but it was also because like my brothers, I mean, I'm 6 years apart from like my oldest brother and 4 years apart from my middle brother. So they had all this exposure to a bunch of other things. Like they were in high school and I was in elementary school, right? So when they learned all these bad things like cussing, for example, or affiliating with gangsters. By the way, like when I started cussing, I was in kindergarten. I have this like baby blanket, and when I was going to kindergarten, I remember it like vividly. My mom was taking me to school to kindergarten, and I was holding my baby blankie, right? And she's like, "Oh no, yeah, you could keep like holding it." She takes me in to take me into the teacher, and then she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna start taking away your blankie, okay?" And I start crying, and I start hitting the lady, and I start being racist, and I called her a bitch. It was so bad. And they were probably thinking, dude, how does this kid know how to cuss like so clean, so smooth? But yeah, I was exposed to a lot of fucked up things, being like the youngest brother. So yeah, I guess like there's a lot of like also gang things that I was exposed to. So like I would say even in second or third grade, I was already like kind of getting affiliated with that lifestyle. I liked hanging out with like my brother's gangster friends because it was just like rebellious, and I kind of felt like, you know what, like it's fun. So I don't want to put all the burden on my dad, but at the same time, there were some times where I just like want to get out of the house and just like do some fuck shit, because that like I was kind of like a child filled with anger, you know. And when you're a child filled with anger, like you want to, dude, like I would go to Chinese school. It was like an after school program. I would go Chinese school and then go hang out with my brother's friend, and then he would bring like a knife, and then we both poke knives in. We'd poke holes in the soap dispensers, and we would like screw up like the whole bathroom, bro. And I was doing this shit when I was in like third, fourth grade. I was fucked up, man. So fast forward to high school, or let's not fast forward to high school. Let's fast forward to like middle school. Middle school, I was like creating like this little gang of mine. Called it like West Asians. Because there's a gang called Dub C watching, right? And their gang sign is something like this. I want to be like, all right, West Asians, we're like this. So you know, I recruited a couple people, and then we would bully kids, not just out of nowhere, right? It was like we would bully kids because they owed money to other people. So we were kind of like enforcing justice, kind of like Robin Hood a little bit, but like we were aggressive. You know what I mean? All right, anyways. So I was hanging out with like gangsters, and or I created like my own little gang, and then I started hanging out with gangsters in high school. And when I was hanging out with gangsters in high school, I was scared. I was scared because like, I don't know, like some shit I might get into one day, and it might be a life or death situation. So I kept a knife with me in my car, and I also kept like tennis rackets. Cause dude, honest, I don't know why people keep bats in their car. Dude, a tennis racket hurts, man. Like, and it's quicker. You gotta use like a sword, like. But tennis, a bat, you have to go like, bro, like, and bats, dude, you're gonna kill someone like that, man. Maybe that's the point, but yeah, I don't know. But like tennis racket, you could do like really quick, swift. So anyways, I kept a knife just to kind of like fend off people like gangsters if they ever came by. And I also hung out with like people who did like, man, I don't know if I could say this, but like hashish, all right? They did hashish. They did other things that are not appropriate to say, but yeah, they did like these bad things. And so there's one day, I had a girlfriend at the time when it was like 11th grade. Okay, so what was I like? 11th grade was like 16 years old. There's one day I got in an argument with my girlfriend. So I found out through one of her really close friends that she was going on a date with this one dude. And this guy's like tall, he's like buff. She went on a date. She never told me that she hung out with this guy. So I was like on the phone with her. I was like, "Oh, why'd you do that?" And then I was like, "Yeah, fuck it, dude. Like, this girl's lying to me." It was so obvious. Like, there's things like not adding up because she was like saying things like, "Oh, why does it matter? Like, I hung out with him, but why does it matter?" Because it's like kind of like gaslighting. Because if you're with someone, you would tell that person, "Hey, I'm hanging out with this opposite sex person," right? And this is the first time I even knew they had some sort of relationship. So if I never even heard about this guy, like maybe if he was your gay best friend, okay, yeah, sure, for sure, go hang out with him. You don't even have to tell me. That's fine. I'm not an insecure dude. But that started to create insecurity within me. And so that night, I hit up like one of my dealer homies and I was like, "Hey, like, you trying to blaze it?" And then so he blazes me out hard. This guy is like, I would say he was in his 20s. That's at this time when I was like 16. I knew this guy because he's like my neighbor. And so he moved from LA to the really Asian city that I live at. And one day he had this like big ass party. And I just like went into his party as a 15-year-old. And I was like, "Hey, I'm your neighbor." And they were like, "Oh shit." They're like scared. They're like, "Oh crap. Is he gonna call the cops?" And I was like, no, I'm here to party with you guys." And they're like, "Oh shit, high schooler partying with us." So I got close with this guy, and then we were just like, blaze it up, some hashish here and there. And so I'm a 16-year-old blazing up with like a 20-something-year-old. I don't know. I got really baked. And that when I was baked, I showed up to school because we were blazing it at like 2 a.m. or something. And I think I couldn't sleep. So then like 7 a.m. rolled by. I went to school and I was still kind of a little bit baked. So, we had this like ritual where like me and my girlfriend and like a couple of her friends, we'd all hang out. And so we were in one of like her homegirl's cars. And I had a knife with me. Then we were kind of arguing, and so she gets out the car. Then like it's just me and her friend. So I go like, "Oh, I'm really sad." And she's like, "It's okay, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I mean, what do I do?" And she's like, "You just have to deal with it." And she's kind of implying like I have to deal with it because I'm a man. Like, stop being a bitch, right? So I was like, should I just? I pulled out my knife and I slowly was like playing with it, and I was like, should I just unalive myself? She's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, playing with it, and she heard the sound. She turns back because she's in the front seat. She turns back. She's like, "Panda, give me that." And I'm like, why? And I'm still baked, right? I'm still baked out of my mind. I'm like, why? I'm playing with it. And she goes like, "Just give me it." She wouldn't tell me why, so I was a little bit confused. I thought she was gonna do some magic miracle or something. I was like, she's probably gonna enchant this knife with like +10 strength or dexterity or intelligence, because I definitely didn't even have intelligence that time. So she just grabs it from me, right? She gets out the car and she starts running, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" She runs, and I didn't even know where she went, right? But I was like, "Oh shit, I'm screwed," because I assumed that she took it to the counselor. So I'm going about my day, right? And then people are warning me. They're like, "Hey, yo, Shannon brought your knife to the counselors you're gonna get a call soon. They're probably gonna like bring you in, so you gotta be prepared. I'm baked out of my mind. I'm like, oh shit, I can't believe this happening. So it's like about fourth period, right? My fourth class of the day. Took them a while. I don't know why, but then I'm just chilling in my English class, and then counselors come. They take me away. Little did I know that was gonna be my last day in that class. Crazy. I didn't even like that class anyways. It was a AP English. God damn. It was. I'm thankful they took me out of that class because, man, I was about to fail that anyways. And here's the thing, like, growing up in a predominantly Asian area, like elementary school, middle school, high school, I had a lot of competition with these other Asians that were like really good and book smart. And so when it came to high school, my brothers would tell me like, you have to enroll in like honors class or APs and just, you have to kill it. And so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna kill it then. Like, I feel like if I enroll in this, it'll force me to like want to study harder. It didn't. And I was about to fail that anyways, right? So good thing I got out of it. So I go into the counselor's office, and they're like interrogating me, and I'm just like, no, like that's not mine. And you know, classic lies until like they break me down. I mean, it's interrogation tactic, man. Like these guys, these counselors, I don't know what the hell it is, but they had training. It was like some FBI. They already knew, like they were like detectives. They knew how to like interrogate these students. Oh my God, man. But yeah, I mean, even if I wasn't even baked, like I would even think that I still would have gotten broken down. So I admit, and then they're like, okay, you know what? Can you write this down like this, whatever affidavit or whatever like statement saying that you did all this. And they're like saying, it's okay, don't worry, like you're not in any trouble. And me in my baked out ass mind, I was like, okay, I believe them. So I write this whole thing. I write everything top to bottom what happened, even the part where I'm like, I'm baked. So stupid. And then the counselor is like reading it. He's like, this is good. Don't worry, like you being honest, this is good. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna get less of a sentence, right? I did it. They were just like, all right, so you have two options. So you could either go to like a mental facility, or you could get a felony and be locked up in jail. And I was like, okay, so what's the catch with the first one? And they're like, nothing. I mean, it's just going to be off your record completely. It's just you have to go for 3 days into this mental facility. I'm like, okay, what about the jail? They're like, oh, same thing. Like you have to go to jail and you have to get bonded out, bailed out, and you might have to pay a lot of money for that. And I was like, okay, but it's going to be on my record? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, all right, I'll take the first one. So I'm in this cop car, you know, that's the first time I'm getting handcuffed, and I'm getting taken across the school, man. Like, I cannot tell you, I felt so much shame. But, like, I mean, everyone kind of expected it too, because, like, I was this kind of imposter Asian who was trying to do all these APs, trying to do all these honor classes. Yeah, I was getting Bs, a lot of Bs. But also some C's. And in high school, that's not good, especially like in an Asian high school like that. I mean, there's all these like Asians who are getting like A pluses, and their GPAs were not even 4.0s. They're like 5.0 because of like APs. And I was like, oh shit, like I can't even match, right? At the end of it all, like I didn't even get into a good university. I only got accepted to 2 places, right? Because my grades were that bad. Like people might be thinking, okay, you got straight B's, that's not too bad. No, like at this Asian high school, like it was bad, bro. So they kind of all knew, like these Asian people around, like these Asian students, they were like, oh yeah, Panda is just like a fuck up, and he's like this imposter that's trying to do like these APs and honors, but he's not all there. So I felt a lot of shame, like just walking through the high school, because like I always was trying to prove to these other people that, like, you know what, I'm actually not stupid, like I could do these things. So it was sad, man. So like some people had to see like me getting lugged out with handcuffs and me getting thrown in the back seat of a cop car. That was my first and only time getting thrown in the back seat of a cop car. And the lady was super nice. It was like a cop lady. She was also Asian too. And I was asking her questions because I was like, I would say during that time I was depressed. Like that was actual depression because your girlfriend turned on you, your friends like look down at you, and you're in the back of a cop car and you don't have any support. So your whole life is crumbling down. Everyone's like against you except for your parents. And that's the thing, like my parents were the only ones that showed up to the mental hospital when the cop took me there. When I was getting taken there too, I was asking the cop a couple questions like, "Oh, do you look at me like a bad person?" And she's like, "No, I just think that like, some people just do some bad things, but they're not bad people. You sound like a really good guy." And she seemed like she really meant it. It wasn't just like the cliche bullshit. So yeah, that happened, and I got taken in the mental hospital and I was getting checked in. My parents were both there, right? It was really, really big stuff that my parents were going through too. During the whole time of me being at the mental hospital, as I said, only my parents were there. Not even my girlfriend showed up, right? And during the time I was in the mental hospital, my girlfriend didn't even stand up for me because there's a lot of interviews that went on, like what happened. We heard that your boyfriend kind of threatened to unalive himself because of you. So can you tell us what happened with this scenario? And she didn't even have my back. She said, yeah, like he had a knife. And then she would like go and like start crying to like my friends and be like, oh, I didn't know what to say. And then her friend, the one that took the knife in, obviously she tattletaled on me. And so I was like, damn, I'm getting attacked on all fronts, right? Like no one really had my back. There was a petition from my tennis team. And this is crazy because like I was JV tennis from 9th grade to 10th grade. And I was pretty good at tennis. I was always like the starter in JV tennis, 9th grade, 10th grade. I was third starter in tennis, and we had a really big team of like 30 tennis players. Okay. So I was always the starter, third starter. And then it was taking me a while to get into like varsity, and varsity always seemed like a stretch because like there were these really good players. So I finally get in like junior year, which is that year I got suspended or expelled. So I get in, and before CIFs or before any like time we could play against other teams from other high schools, I got expelled. So that part was sad, man. I mean, I think it wasn't even a month in of like varsity training that like I got expelled. So that hit deep, man. And then I had a reputation with like my tennis team, and they started this whole petition. Thank God, man. Like I had some support from them, and they were like, hey, let's get Panda back in school. He's a really good guy, and this is like just a outlier case, like his classes and grades. My grades weren't that great, but like his experience trying to be a good scholar, it shows, because there were some non-Asians and they didn't have particularly good grades. There was a really big deviation. For example, like the Asians were getting really good grades. The non-Asians were like super bad, right? They're super not that smart. I mean, I'm not saying like not all non-Asians are not that smart, but it was really night and day, the differentials. It's crazy because I think it was like 900 students. Legit, it showed that I was the rank 450 on my transcript. It showed Panda rank 450. I was like, what the fuck? I'm in the middle. So they're like, yeah, dude, like this guy, he's like a good scholar or trying to aspire to be a good scholar. Let's get him back. A lot of people signed that petition, and that was really like the only support that I had in my high school. So I was going through a lot, right? I was going through a lot, like in this mental, I'll just call it asylum. It was a mental asylum, man. 3 days, 72 hours of just being in this place where you're with like a bunch of other people who are either in the same scenario as me, where they escaped a felony, or they were actually crazy kids. And they separated it from like under 18 kids to like men who were like above 18. So like I was in like with the kids, right? So there were a lot of kids that were like, oh, I don't even want to be at home. I want to stay here for the rest of my life. I was like, yo, these kids are actually insane. We had to take off even our shoelaces. Like we could only like wear shoes without shoelaces, like because they were scared these people would like unalive themselves, whatever, right? Or try to like unalive other people. So my experience at this mental asylum was just, it felt like 3 years, man. It felt like 3 years because we would wake up and then everyone's just kind of doing their own thing. They would play Shiloh or like some, I don't know, what is that one movie with like baseball, The Sandbox or something? It was like one of those crappy ass like little kid movies. And they would play these movies on repeat all day. And we all have to like gather in that like multi-purpose room where it's like everyone's watching the TV. And I'm like, dude, I need a lift, man. Like I was the only dude that was kind of like, I guess, normal and just had like goals. And I played tennis. Like I had hobbies. Like these other people, they didn't work out. They were just like dudes that were losers in a sense. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? I'm a loser. Because how did I get expelled over a girl? How did I do something so stupid? Right? So I had a lot of time thinking in that mental asylum, and that 3 days just felt like so long. When I finally got bailed out, not even bailed out, sorry. When they finally released me, I went back to like my life, and I was trying to get back into school, but I found out I was expelled. Like I thought I was just suspended for like a semester, but I was actually expelled. So I had to do homeschooling, and I couldn't even attend like tennis anymore. I wasn't even part of the varsity team anymore, which sucked because like, yeah, I mean, I spent all that time training, and then when I finally got in, I got kicked out of like everything regarding school. Yeah, it sucked, man. And then I try to cope with the fact that like maybe my girlfriend lacked maturity, and maybe she didn't try to betray me. Like that wasn't her intention. But yeah, we were still together, but things just fell apart after that, right? And then I was just like, all right, like yeah, like it's done. She was just waiting for me to like let it go. Like she didn't want to do it to me, because I think that's the thing, because when you get sent to like a mental hospital or asylum, then you come out of it, people start looking at you like you're fucking weirdo, like you have issues. Okay, I actually got reinstated back into high school like a year after, right? So at first it was an expulsion, but it got reduced to just a suspension after like they saw all these things going on. It was like a really big thing. So yeah, we'll get into that later. But like when I got back into school, first day, people were looking at me like they saw a ghost. Like they were scared of me because they thought I was a crazy motherfucker, which I am, but not like that crazy, right? I was a crazy party animal. But yeah, I mean, I think it was just like a downer that day with like the hashish, that it made me kind of really depressed. But that temporary depression became actual depression. Like I would sit in my room and just kind of like hate my life and threaten like crashing a car, because like there's so many things that were going on at home, because like my dad, my mom, they were under a lot of pressure, and you know, we had a lot of just arguments here and there. So there's a lot going on at home, and yeah, like that is actual depression. But I don't sit and go like, you know what, I went through this stuff, so everyone else should accommodate me, and the world should accommodate me because I went through this and I'm depressed. And I don't let that carry across my whole life. I let that become an experience that allows me to grow, but I don't let that define me to a point where I mellow and waddle in fear and sadness and allow that to spread like a disease to other people. So I think it's really important, because like when you go through like experiences as a man that really tear you down, getting out of that really makes you become a masculine man, a true man, where it's like, now I have this experience where it has broken me down in the past. When I come across another experience that's not as bad, I just think back to that experience where it's like, okay, like I've gotten expelled before. I've gotten to a point where everyone just like has been against me, and I felt like I didn't have anyone. So you know what, this thing is not even that bad. I talked about before in the podcast that I currently now have a daughter, and taking care of my daughter, you know what? Yeah, people say it's hard raising a kid and you have sleepless nights. But bro, back then when I was expelled, I had sleepless nights, and I had all this depression, and I had people not even backing me. So yeah, I mean, yeah, dude, like now when I see like taking care of a kid, it's not even that bad, you know what I mean? So like my suggestion to like the girls out there, like you should find a guy. Like if you want this kid to be your kid to be the father of your child, find a guy who has been through experiences. Because if you find a guy who has never been through experiences, when he comes across like taking care of a kid, he's gonna be like, I'm so stressed out, I can't take care of this, you know what I mean? So yeah, man. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about like how I got reinstated back into my high school. So my dad pulled some strings, got me back reinstated. I was also taking a lot of like AP and honors still, but it was homeschooling. And homeschooling, oh my God, homeschooling was so easy. That was the first time I ever got straight A's. Like my parents would be like having conversations with me like, hey, you know what? It's kind of a blessing that you had homeschooling, because now you're getting straight A's. And that propelled into me actually getting into like some decent colleges. I'll just be straight up, right? I got into UC Riverside, and I got into Cal Poly Pomona. Everywhere else I got rejected. So UC Riverside is like the rejects of like all the UCs. Oh my God. It was sad, bro. But I think if it wasn't for like me getting homeschooled, I would have definitely not got into any colleges. And yeah, I probably would like not be at a really good college, and I probably would have gotten a degree from like a bullshit university, because like my life would have been insanely, completely in shambles. Because me getting that acceptance letter from UC Riverside and Cal Poly Pomona, it really changed me, because I was like, you know what, like now I have this chance to not fuck this up. And so when I went to university, I was like, shit, you know what, I'm gonna take this seriously. And that's when I graduated from engineering, and yeah, like I got pretty good grades. And that's when I realized, you know what, I'm actually not a dumbass. And I think a lot of people, they cope with the fact that they're not dumbasses, and they probably see like a couple videos saying, you know what, if you don't find something you're not good at, it's not because you're stupid, it's because you haven't found something you're not good at yet. I disagree with that. I do think there are actually dumb people in this world, you know. There are a lot of people too, like I'm better at them in every single thing. And there's some people, they're better at me in every single thing too. Pulling girls, school, academia, right? And also like tuning, modifying cars, and also just like ability to drive cars, ability to like box really well. Like I have a couple friends who are just brilliant at everything they do. But yeah, there's a lot of guys that like I'm better at them everything I do, right? So yeah, like that's when I realized, you know what? Like it's not that like I was stupid. It's just more like I was not motivated, and I was always just distracted from dating and the pressure of being in like an Asian high school, being in an Asian area, and then having the pressure of my Asian parents, like just always telling me you should do this, you should do this. That I didn't have that natural drive to want to do it that much, you know. And plus, I love playing. Like, you know, I love playing video games. I love being a loser like that. I love to just date around in high school. I dated a lot of girls in high school too. Don't even get me started with that. Like, we talk a lot about dating on this podcast, but all of it's more like after high school. But yeah, I started my dating career well within high school, man. Yeah, I probably dated more than 10 girls in high school, which is crazy. So yeah, I mean, now it's a totally different lifestyle. I don't play games. I work hard at my everything I do, right? And I think it's all thanks to this experience. You know, I have to be grateful for this experience that I encountered. And a lot of times I would be thinking, you know, there's these Asian kids out there who are doing a lot better of a job than me. They're acing all their IBs. I had this tennis partner. He was an IB and he did tennis as well, varsity tennis. He was my varsity tennis doubles partner, and also he was gaming a lot too. So I was doing all of that as well. I was gaming. We were playing this game called Heroes of New Earth. It's like a kind of like a variation of Dota, which is variation of League of Legends, right? But Dota is the originator. So I was playing this game called Heroes of New Earth. He was like a 1700 MMR. I was like a 1600 MMR. And in tennis, he was always beating me in singles. And in school, he was always getting straight A's. I was getting straight B's. And I said to my parents, I was like, dude, I feel like a dumbass. And they're like, it's fine because like, look, like you went through this and you're learning from this. They even brought my cousin who went through something similar. He got expelled as well. He's a nerd. He got set up for like some, you know, illegal substances, right? But my cousin was talking to me too, and he was like telling me, yeah, you're just gonna learn from this. And I'm like, well, there's all these other dudes, like for example, this doubles tennis partner of mine. He is really smart and he's gonna go places, and he didn't need to go through these dumbass things to become successful, right? That's what's crazy, because university happened, right? We all go to university. He goes to Berkeley, and I go to, you know, far from Berkeley, right? It's not even it's shitty ass university. And then he drops out of his major. He was doing a computer science. He drops out, and he just couldn't take it anymore. Like all of his life, he was studying so much. All of his life, he was working hard for tennis, working hard for games, and he blew up. He went to Berkeley and blew the hell up, then switched to English. He switched to English, and now he's an English teacher. I looked up his salary, and I don't want to make this like just like shitting on him, but I want this to be like an example to other people out there, because this is really important. But like he was making 30K at one point. Like this was after college. And I think now he's probably like 60K or something like that, right? But this is crazy because like all my life I grew up thinking like all these dudes who were really smart all of high school and below, they would become like these billionaires. They would become super successful. But a lot of them, man, they're making way less than me, which is crazy, dude. Like I think about that and I realize how immature I was thinking, because yeah, high school is a good indicator of how much success this person is going to be, but it's not everything, because there's a lot of factors even in college or university where like it could shape this person into becoming a failure. And I'm not saying like this friend of mine is a failure, but it was far from what I expected and far from what anyone would have expected. So yeah, it's surprising, man. It's surprising like how life could hit like for these people. And so I started realizing, you know what, like school isn't everything. And we preach that a lot on this podcast, like school is not a lot. Like we even had a guy, his name's Saint. He came on and then he had 2 DUIs and he got locked up for a good time. Now he's making like well over like 200K, you know, as a computer science, a coder. He at one point was working for TikTok. So yeah, man, like all these experiences, I want to tell the youth, right? Or even anyone out there, right? Who is currently experiencing these pains, who is experiencing stuff like this, where it's like, you're just wondering why you're a fuck up. And wondering like, there's these other people, like they don't have to make these mistakes like you do, but you know, one day you might become better than them. You know what I mean? I'm not saying all these people are going to become better. I'm saying that there's a good chance that if you turn your life around and you look at this like experience and you learn from it and you abstain from doing these stupid things and let it shape you, not to become spiteful or negative or hate the world, but let it uplift you, let it serve as motivation and serve as a point of contention where it's like, now you have this reference and now you can argue that, you know what, whenever I come across any stupid bullshit that's a stressful point in my life, I think of this milestone, not even a bad experience. I think of it as a milestone. I went through high school, I got expelled, and I came back from it. I recovered from it. You think back on that time, you know? So yeah, I mean, I think it's a blessing. Like I always have these conversations with my dad, and I always say like, you know what, if it weren't for like these cases where like I got expelled in high school, like the 2 biggest cases in my life was getting expelled in high school and flying over the edge of a cliff while racing and almost dying. Like these were the 2 biggest things in my life that shaped my life to become the person who I am, to really embrace and really feel blessed to be alive, and really feel blessed that I have another chance to make it big. And you should always wake up with a smile. I always tell my friends, yeah, I'm happy. They ask me, how are you? I'm like, great. Always happy to be alive. Always happy to have a chance with life. So if you're ever like someone who like had these like certain scenarios where something happened to you, I mean, like even look at that DUI video where it's like saying, he talks about like his experience, and it was pretty bad, man. I mean, it was probably bad in a different way where it's like, yeah, this is on his record, and then his experience was pretty crazy. But yeah, it was bad still, and he's still like making a lot of money, you know. And the same thing goes for me. It's not like I'm making a crazy amount of money, but it's like I'm proud of where I became, you know. I'm proud of where I am at to this day. And like sometimes I ask myself, how the fuck did I make it to this level? But it makes sense, because like a man, he grows from his mistakes. He grows from experiences, bad experiences. I think sometimes a woman, like these bad experiences shapes her to become more spiteful and negative, have a lot of trauma. But like, I think for women, like if you understand that you don't let this shape you, have a negative outlook, and you just become positive and you be grateful for life, then you will be able to overcome the hardest hurdles without ever being like, you know what, why does my life suck like this? Why, you know, I don't want to hear that shit. You know, there's a lot of people that almost lost their lives. I almost lost my life with that car accident, and I wake up with a smile on my face every day. I wake up saying, you know, I have a lot of things. I have to run this podcast. Even though I'm working full time, I still have to run this podcast and still have to take care of my kid. There's a lot of things that I have to do. But I don't sit there every day and I don't go like, why does my life suck? My girlfriend left me when I was like 16 years old. My girlfriend was out with another guy. That's another point I want to bring up. And this is also partially why I started this podcast, right? That's a big experience that I experienced back then. One of the first ever times I ever simped for a girl so hard that it came crumbling down. And like a lot of viewers always go like, oh, well, you don't understand because you're a really alpha dude and masculine guy. You don't understand how it is to be like not a really good looking dude and not being appreciated from like women. No, I very much well understand. But are you going to keep wallowing in sadness and despair? And you're going to let this shape you into becoming a negative man? I think people have said on this podcast, they said Panda's a little bit jaded. That's why he says things a little bit critical about women. But it's not that I say things that's critical about women. I'm very realistic. That's the thing. I think what it means to be jaded and problematic when it comes to like dating is if you let your experiences define you to a point where you have a negative outlook on the opposite sex or whoever you're dating. But how I view it is I let my experiences define me and shape me into a person who is realistic for the success for me and my partner. For example, I talked about it before on the podcast where I exposed like the reasons why I had a kid and why I purposely knocked up this girl. And one of the things that I talked about was how I haven't put a title on this relationship. I haven't called this relationship like a boyfriend-girlfriend, or I haven't even gotten married with her. There's a reason for that. It's because there have been certain scenarios in the past where I got in a relationship and I felt immense pressure that I had to uphold something, or I felt immense pressure that I expected her to have to meet these expectations of mine. And I know I have that toxic mentality or that this paranoia that it's like I'm expected to be more, to be a lot, right? So I avoid this title thing because I know it's going to make me feel like I don't have a sense of freedom. And when I don't feel like I have a sense of freedom, then I'm going to want to find that elsewhere, right? There have been scenarios, I think I talked about it in the last podcast, why you shouldn't be insecure, why you shouldn't be an insecure guy, why you should be a man where you let your girl get hit on. Okay, it's a really hot take. And I talk about that because in the past I have been in relationships where I put a title on it, and once I put a title on it, I felt this immense pressure where I didn't have this freedom. And when I didn't have this freedom, I wanted to seek that freedom by getting hit on by girls or hitting on girls as well and entertaining it. So I understand my flaws and I let that shape me into mitigating the amount of failure that there is for me and my partner. So I think it's really important because like when you have these certain scenarios, like when you come across like a girl who played you pretty much. And here's another thing, like she did play me. Like there's another time when after I got out of the mental hospital, she went on another date with another guy, and I got this source from another person, and I asked her about it, and I was like, all right, we're done. So Yeah, when you have like these scenarios where you get played as a guy and you want to become black pill about it, or super red pill in a point where like you can't trust women at all, that's when you become jaded. When you're more realistic, like I'm a realist, right? Like I know my flaws. I know what it takes to get girls. I'm not going to be pedestalizing girls and simping for girls anymore, not because I'm jaded, but because I know shit like this will happen. And I think the another big reason why I talk about this is because like if you want to simp for a girl, like you could very well be digging a grave for yourself. So you would not know this, but like not only would you lose your girl, but you would set yourself up probably to get locked up. Probably some bad things will happen to you. Probably you'll lose your brothers, because this has happened before. But like a brother in like my friend circle, he simped so hard for girls all the time that like all of the brothers, we're just like, yo, this guy, we don't respect this guy. So he lost all of his brothers. He lost the respect of all of his peers. And this is why also this podcast was created, because we're trying to let guys know that when you simp, it's not like you simp for the right girl, then it's okay. It's like, I think it's a universal thing that like men should not simp, because it's just a turn off for women. And there have been more times that I was successful in attracting women, not simping, and actually just like not giving a fuck, and just giving this like really mysterious persona, not really showing all your cards, right? Because when you show a lot of your cards, you become too understandable. And when women understand you too much, there's not that much interest. I think it goes both ways too. When a guy understands a woman too much, like he's gonna take this girl for granted, right? So I'm just more or so less a realist, and I'm just like, yo, guys, you guys gotta stop simping for these girls. I speak from experience because I have been down that path before. So not only is this like a episode that I want to share with the brothers, any brother out there watching, any Asian brother, or even like women who are experiencing something crazy right now, but like I'm not trying to just say like, you know what, this is something that will motivate you. But also, this is also a lesson for all the simps out there. Stop fucking simping, you know? So, yeah, I mean, this is a great episode to highlight to everyone. The takeaway is that, like, if even you are going through something crazy in your life, you feel like your life is crumbling down. Like, for example, your academia is not good. Your status with the law is not good. Your status with your girlfriend or boyfriend is not good, and things are going on at home with your family, your Asian parents maybe, and you just feel depressed. Think about this video and think about how, like, if you overcome this big hurdle of yours, you turn it into your own, have your own little style with it, and just think, you know, I've overcame something crazy like this before, or you know that like I'm gonna overcome this, and when I look back on this, this is gonna just be making me stronger as a person. Not only that, is that just to all the males, this is a big reason for you all to stop simping. And one that you guys know, the guys who say stop simping is because they were a simp before, and nothing good came out of it. It's not like you just simp for the right girl and it's okay. I think that it's, look, like for example, if you see a potential hire, like you're an interviewer, okay, and you see a bunch of interviewees that are not that great, don't have that much good grades, and don't have that much talents, would you pick that person as your candidate? Or would you pick the one that has like a lot of experience doing a lot of things and can show that on a resume, and the way they talk and their academia is good? why not pick the one that like is proven results, right? Like why you keep simping? The final thing I want to talk about is if you're a male that's going through something like this, we actually have a support community for specifically Asian male. But if you're interested in the Asian male experience and you want predominantly Asian male brothers who will uplift you and support you and whatever issues you're going through, check out the description. We have this Discord community that I set up for men who are going through a lot of stuff, a lot of stress, and you can ask questions, you could seek guidance and find solidarity. It's completely free, by the way. It's not like something where it's like trying to monetize, where you have to pay people. But there are coaches, right? There are coaches. So if people are like interested in getting coached by certain people to have more of a strong mindset, then you could definitely sign up for that. The people who are very serious. But I specifically want this to be like the support for like Asian males out there, because I don't think there's that many out there. There's like Asian masculinity, that subreddit, right? But I do want a support network for like the Asian male brothers out there. And we don't talk about this enough, but there's a lot that men go through, like experiences like this, that I really want to help. And also what this podcast was created for, to help the men out there. Not only that, but like also to look at it from a point of view where it's also balanced, where we're not like kind of berating women and saying like get in the kitchen and cook and shit, but I also want to be fair. So yeah, if you or you know anyone out there who probably has some sort of struggle or is having some sort of tough time in their life, refer them, send this to them. And I will answer a lot of like messages, and even there's a lot of brothers in there that would treat you like actual brothers in this Discord community. So yeah, with that, I just want to say some final remarks on this, is that like this was a really tough episode to like think about and to share, because man, I'm recalling events from almost actually 15 years ago, because I'm 31 right now. So I'm 31, and 16, when I was 16 this happened. So yeah, man, that is insane. It took me a while to make this episode, because I have had like some comments way long ago when this podcast was first founded, where it was like, hey, talk about like your experience, like how you got expelled. And I was like, yeah, I'll save it for like a day when like I actually think about everything. And hats off to Dark Knight 526, man. Like, you're always a strong supporter. So anyone out there who also has like opinions or suggestions that the Controvert podcast can share, let me know in the comments too. But yeah, I mean, this took a really long time, because I was like, man, how am I even going to talk about this? I want this to be like a really special episode. I want this to be like something where it has a lot of meaning to it, where I could actually recall a lot of events, because man, my mind kind of compartmentalizes some of the events that happen, just because like it's like, yeah, I mean, I look back on that scenario a lot of the times, and I'm like, yeah, I went through something bad, so I can overcome this next hurdle. But like, I naturally compartmentalize a couple things here and there, and it was tough, like recalling some of those things, like especially the tennis one, and recalling like how there wasn't that many people that were there for me. And then you start to think about it from a very political point of view, because you have these people signing these petitions, but then there's also some people who are not signing this petition. Then you start to realize who your true friends are. And there are a lot of people that were also not signing the petition, but some people were like a little bit, in a sense, like forced to sign the petition, because like some of the tennis people were like really strong and aggressive about like getting people signed. So yeah, man, like if it wasn't for like my parents, if it wasn't for like my tennis team that got me through it, I don't know where I would be, man. And like, honestly, I always tell my dad, like, I really thank him for being really strict as an Asian father for me, because growing up since I was really young, first grade, he was already hard on me. Like, Third grade, when I got a D, he was tough. But when I started getting B's in middle school, I was like, hey, I got B's. Look, I improved. He was like, this is a B. This is typical Asian shit, right? But like, I mean, it showed improvement. I went from a D to a B, you know what I mean? Like sometimes Asian kids are like, okay, they have constant B's, but mine was like, okay, you're shit. You're a complete shit D. And then finally you got a P. So yeah, that's crazy improvement, you know? So, yeah, I always tell my dad that like, if it wasn't for like the stuff that I went through, like the strict parenting, I wouldn't have been able to handle all of that stuff that happened in high school. So I don't know. I always think about it like, how am I going to raise my daughter or my next child about like having this balance between being like strict and making sure like they don't have too much trauma, but also making sure that they're tough, that they can handle things like this. So a lot of stuff like I started to think about nowadays and start to correlate those events of my past into how I could apply it to like the future and how I should apply it to like being a parent. I definitely don't want to be like one of these Gen Z parents, right? Like where these Gen Zs, they get spoiled to a point like they're soft as hell, right? So just finding that right balance, I think is very, very important, and that's really key. So there's a lot of things that I'm thinking about every day. So yeah, really, really appreciative. And I do think that the Asian teachings where it's like to be tough on their Asian kids, it's a blessing. It's a blessing, but at the same time, they're like, for example, my friend that like blew the hell up after he did IB and was like varsity tennis and getting 1700 MMR in Heroes of New Earth all at one time. I mean, yeah, there's a certain limit that these Asian kids could take, but at the same time, if these Asian kids could also be optimistic about it, they become one of the toughest people. And so a lot of things that people would find tough, I'm going through these every day like this is nothing, you know what I mean? So it's a very big blessing for you as a man to go through these life experiences and to overcome it. And so just be grateful for like these experiences, you know? With that, I think this is a really long episode, so I just really want to thank whoever made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this podcast, and that like this was a tough share, and one day or another I'll get to that experience of how I flew off a cliff and almost died, and that's just gonna be another one of these crazy stories that I'm gonna share. But I definitely need to do a lot of thinking about how to share that one. So yeah, but thank you again for watching the Controvert podcast. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.